The in-bed reading series continues. Tonight we're going to read from The Trolley Man by Bob Pajich. We're going to read one of my favorite poems, Bloomfield Driver. Bloomfield Driver. The old Italian touched my lover's arm in front of the church on Liberty and sang some Italian gibberish, so beautiful and deserving it made me want to punch him in the mouth. He glided by and disappeared around the red corner of the huge church, and it somehow made me crazy with lust and sadness, almost like how one of those big blue Conrail engines blowing through Wilmerding can give old men hard-ons and make widows weep for the kind of smoke that hung in the Electric Valley in and out of wars. The rumble of one of those monsters is a lot like love, even though nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to say it. This happened in the summer. I forget what kind of job I had, although I'm sure I could figure it out. Look at old tax records like a goddamn detective. It got me by, like it was supposed to do. I remember the girl upstairs, a sushi bar waitress who loved her boyfriend but still touched my arm when we walked on the front stoop. And I couldn't tell if I was becoming the nice guy who listens or the nice guy who would be lovely to lie upon and destroy. But again, I can't remember her name, only her stinking job, and I'm sure there's a reason some shrink or know-it-all writer could tell me about. I don't know. She left. Some orange and white moving van took her and her stuff and her long-haired boy across town to another walk-up with the utilities included, and yeah, I would have slept with her and felt the guilt run across me like the rat that my father said ran across his face in Vietnam. In fact, that was the summer he sat atop a bar stool in East McKeesport and fed $5 bills to a ragged 35-year-old woman whose glasses slipped off her nose when she'd get excited and hit the discard button on the poker machine too hard. She clicked the credits away as all the drunks, toothless, scrubbed, and otherwise, caught his eye and held their drinks up to him, and he returned the favor and winked because that's how men act with each other when they acknowledge faithfulness and are humiliated by it. My roommate Andy and I used to climb the unsteady fire escape and lay out our great white bellies blinding the helicopter pilots trying to set their crafts down on the giant Red Cross. We'd hot-foot it over to the cooler of beers, sitting in the shade of the useless chimney. He was in love and I didn't want to hear about it, but how do you tell someone you don't want to hear about it? And I had work, which was cutting grass for the university. How could I forget? What is there to remember about that job? Well, I used to cut the lawn of a skinny Argentinian girl who was dying and knew it, but celebrated every night with wine and friends and cartons of cigarettes. Her arms held scars, inverted canals as thick as a corkscrew from the hundreds of IVs her new kidneys required, and I loved her for that, even though I only cut her grass and listened to her once or twice. So there it is. Who knows if Andy still loves the girl? I've lost track of almost everything. It was 2 years ago, and I sat in that kitchen and watched my huge shadow move across the 3-story wall of the church while listening to the bakers clang away at their mixers and ovens, their back door thrown open, a metal grate cutting the bright white light. I grieved for my mother that night in February, who was alive in the mouth of unhappiness and got lost after dropping me off on her way back to a town where she grew up and will surely die, because for 200 years, that's what the people of Allegheny County agreed upon. Long before being born in the soup of the womb, digesting Isley's chipped ham and liking it. Pittsburgh is a unique place. It's the only city in the world where you could cross 3 rivers and still be lonely. And that is why, after the Italian made my girl blush, we crossed the street for no particular reason and bought a quart of shaved ice, half honeydew, half cantaloupe, and walked back to the apartment in Bloomfield, took our shoes and socks off and ate it on the front porch. Then, in the bedroom, with the windows open like mouths, it was a good excuse to lie down again and just rest. The box fan blowing hard like everyone else. Bloomfield Driver, Bob Pajich, The Trolley Man, LowGhost Press. Thanks for listening, folks.